Dr. Elias Vorn stepped off the landing shuttle and onto the surface of Nyxora, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, violet soil. The sky above was a swirling canvas of green and gold clouds, like some impossible painting come to life. He inhaled, feeling the alien air brush past his lungs, carrying scents that were both floral and metallic at the same time. It was beautiful, terrifying, and entirely unknown. Humanity had spread its reach across the stars, but Nyxora was still a mystery, even to the most seasoned explorers. Elias had been sent here as part of an expedition by the United Earth Science Council. The mission was delicate. Nyxora was home to the Sarathi, a species humans had never fully interacted with. They were fragile, luminous beings, their bodies semi-transparent and shimmering with the color of their life force. Their blood, the Sarathi's most precious possession, carried an energy so potent it powered everything from their technology to their very minds. To take too much was to steal life. To take too little could mean failing to understand the wonders and dangers of their planet. He adjusted his visor, watching the alien horizon carefully. A group of Sarathi appeared ahead, their forms gliding just above the ground, light trailing from their translucent limbs. One of them, smaller than the others, stepped forward. She had silver-gold veins glowing faintly beneath her skin and eyes wide with fear and anger. "That's my blood, stop drinking," she screamed. Elias froze. The words were sharp and clear in his ears. The Sarathi's voice carried more than sound. It carried emotion, a depth that humans rarely perceived. The young female, Lyra, as he would later learn her name, was trembling, her hands raised in warning. I'm not here to harm you," Elias said slowly, raising his hands. "I only need a sample for research. It's vital for understanding the virus that has begun spreading on your planet. We might not survive otherwise." And yet, as he stood before her, he realized that saving life sometimes required courage that went against instinct. Before he could respond, a sudden wave of dizziness hit him. The virus he had carried in a containment pod had somehow breached his suit. It coursed through his veins like liquid fire, burning, twisting, threatening to end him before he could even begin his research. He stumbled, clutching his chest, fighting for control. Lyra's scream echoed in his ears. "Stop, stop." Elias fell to his knees, gasping. His body tingled in ways that were entirely new. His vision sharpened. The swirling clouds of Nyxora's sky seemed to break into individual threads of color, each vibrating with energy. His senses expanded. He could hear the heartbeat of the Sarathi around him, feel the pulse of life flowing through the soil beneath his feet. The virus that had gripped him moments ago was gone. Lyra stared in horror and awe. What have you done?" she whispered. I don't know," Elias admitted, his voice trembling. He felt power within him, a strange bond with the blood he had taken. It was not dangerous, at least not yet. It was alive, and it was teaching him, showing him a connection he had never imagined possible. The other Sarathi hesitated, watching their young companion. Their council would never allow such an act, yet here was a human surviving something that should have been fatal. And not only surviving, he was stronger, faster, more aware. Elias looked at Lyra, trying to calm her. "I didn't mean to take more than necessary. I had no choice. I would have died." Elias could feel their thoughts, fragments of suspicion, wonder, and fear. His mind was opening to theirs. He could sense Lyra's heartbeat, the rhythm of her thoughts, her emotional pulses. He could sense the energy flowing through Nyxora itself, a network of life that hummed beneath the soil and trees, and it felt welcoming. Elias slowly rose to his feet. Every movement was precise, deliberate, and powerful. His body seemed to know what to do before his mind did. The virus which had threatened to kill him moments ago now seemed a distant memory. Lyra began, hesitating. She had been trained to protect her blood, her people, and her life. But something about this human, something beyond fear, beyond anger, made her pause. You are changed. Not like the others, you feel like." He could not yet control it fully, but the potential was beyond anything humanity had ever known. The rest of the Sarathi moved closer, cautiously circling him. Their luminescent forms created a halo of light that made the violet ground shine like glass. Their expressions were unreadable, their voices low and melodic. "You have bridged a gap," one elder said finally, her form larger, more radiant than the rest. "But the bridge is dangerous. You are human. You are not meant to hold this blood. It will test your mind, your spirit, your soul. Do you understand? Then perhaps there is hope. Perhaps humans are not as weak as we feared. Perhaps your species can learn what ours has guarded for centuries." The other humans on Nyxora would not understand, and many Sarathi would never forgive what he had done. Why did you drink it? Lyra asked quietly, stepping closer. Her voice lacked its earlier anger, replaced with wonder. You could have died. Maybe humans are meant to survive, even in places we don't belong. He looked around at the glowing Sarathi, their light reflecting in his eyes. I promise I will not abuse this, he said. I will use it only to help both your people and mine. But the next trials, they will challenge not just your body, but your mind. Your choices will decide not just your life, but the life of all here. He took it, feeling a spark pass between them, human and Sarathi, bound by circumstance, blood, and an uncertain future. The wind from Nyxora's sky blew past them, carrying the scents of alien flowers and minerals. Elias felt it in his veins, the power of the planet, the life of its people, and the strange, new strength that now ran through him. For the first time in his life, he was not just a man. He was something more. And Nyxora had only just begun to test him. Elias woke to the soft hum of Nyxora's morning light brushing through his visor. The sky had shifted from the gold and green swirl of dawn to a calm, deep blue, dotted with floating clouds that glimmered faintly as if they carried their own light. He lay on the violet soil, feeling the energy of the Sarathi blood still pulsing through him. His body had healed overnight, faster than he could have imagined, and his senses were sharper, clearer. Every sound, every scent, every subtle movement around him was amplified. He stood slowly, testing his strength. His muscles moved fluidly, without the stiffness he normally felt after waking. The virus that had threatened his life days ago was gone, leaving him not weak but strong, stronger than any human had ever been. Yet the power was alien, foreign, and he had no way to control it fully. Nearby, Lyra approached, her glow soft and cautious. She had remained close through the night, keeping a careful watch. She stopped a few meters away, eyes flicking between him and the surroundings. You are different, she said quietly, her voice carrying curiosity without fear. The blood you drank, it has changed you more than you know. I don't know if I can control it all. Humans were clever, yes, but nothing had prepared him for this level of power and responsibility. We must return to the council, Lyra said, turning gracefully. They will decide what to do. Your survival, it may be a sign or a warning. Either way, you will not be allowed to wander freely. As they walked, he tried to process the feeling of his new senses. He could hear the subtle hum of energy flowing beneath Nyxora's surface. He could sense the heartbeat of a Sarathi from hundreds of meters away, the pulse of life vibrating through the air like invisible threads. It was overwhelming but exhilarating. When they reached the council chamber, Elias felt an instant tension. The Sarathi elders were seated in a circle, their glowing forms creating a halo of light that filled the room. Their eyes, ancient, wise, and piercing, focused on him immediately. The room was silent except for the faint energy hum that Elias now recognized as the presence of Sarathi life. An elder stepped forward, her form taller and brighter than the others. Doctor. Elias Vorn, she said, her voice resonant and melodic. You have survived what no human should. You have taken the sacred blood, and yet you live. This council must understand why and how. I only sought to survive it to understand. You hear it, can you control it, human? If anything, he shows restraint. He may remain under our supervision. Lyra, you will teach him. Show him the balance of our blood, the flow of energy, the way to live without harming others. If he succeeds, he may become a bridge between our species. If he fails, he may bring ruin. First, you must learn to feel the flow, not just the presence. Your senses are too sharp. They must become precise, focused, not chaotic. Close your eyes. It was everywhere. The soil, the plants, even the distant mountains, they were all alive with energy. Lyra guided him gently. Do not reach for it with force. Let it come to you. Feel it. Do not consume it. Do not dominate it. Balance is key. He could sense too much, too many thoughts, too many emotions. His head spun. But slowly, as Lyra's voice guided him, he found rhythm, focus. He felt the flow move through him, not against him. Hours passed. Elias learned to sense the heartbeat of each Sarathi in the chamber, the subtle changes in the flow of energy beneath their feet. He felt Lyra's presence beside him, her own pulse steady and calm, guiding him like a teacher guiding a student. When he opened his eyes, the elders were watching silently. He felt a new confidence in his movements, a connection to the energy that was no longer frightening but familiar. He could understand the subtle changes in the room, the shift in mood, the tension in the air, the flow of energy moving like a living river. You are learning quickly, the eldest said. Most humans would have failed completely, yet you adapt. Perhaps there is hope that your kind is capable of more than we imagined. I only want to help and to understand. Lyra taught him about the energy within Sarathi blood, how it flowed like water through the body, how it connected them to each other and to the planet. She showed him how to sense disturbances, how to measure energy without touching it, how to remain calm when surrounded by multiple Sarathi. Each exercise tested his body, mind, and spirit. At night, Elias sat alone on the violet soil, staring at Nyxora's glowing horizon. The sky pulsed faintly, as if the planet itself was alive and watching him. He reflected on the day, how close he had come to disaster, how he had survived, and how much he still had to learn. He thought of Earth, of his family, of humanity. He realized that humans were often underestimated, weak, perhaps in some ways, but adaptable, courageous, capable of empathy and ingenuity. These were qualities that no alien species could ignore. He had survived where none should have, not because he was stronger in the normal sense, but because he refused to give up, because he thought beyond fear, because he understood responsibility. Elias felt a quiet determination settle in him. The Sarathi had feared humans, distrusted them, assumed them reckless and selfish. But he would show them a different path. He would learn their ways, master the flow of their blood, and prove that humanity was capable of greatness, even among the stars. As he closed his eyes, he felt Lyra's presence nearby, steady and calm, a reminder that he was not alone in this journey. He knew the road ahead would be dangerous. There would be tests, misunderstandings, and enemies. Yet for the first time in his life, he felt ready. For humanity, for Nyxora, for himself, Elias Vorn would survive. He would adapt. He would grow. And perhaps, in doing so, he would change the universe's perception of what humans were truly capable of. The violet wind whispered past him, carrying a promise. The journey had only begun, but even the smallest spark of courage could ignite a fire that changed everything. And Elias, now more than human, was that spark. Days passed, and Elias continued his lessons with Lyra. Every movement, every breath, every thought became more attuned to the flow of Nyxora. He could feel the energy of every Sarathi in the chamber, every vibration of the soil, every whisper of the wind. Yet with each improvement, he noticed the reactions of others, humans and Sarathi alike, growing more tense, more cautious. His survival, his transformation, had made him extraordinary, but it had also made him a source of fear. The first sign of trouble came unexpectedly. Human crew members who had remained on the edges of Nyxora began to speak in hushed tones among themselves. Elias overheard fragments of conversation as he walked through the base's corridors. He survived. That's impossible. Humans saw strength and opportunity the same way they always had. To them, survival was not enough. Power was something to be claimed, controlled, and exploited. He realized that he was now at the center of a delicate balance between two worlds, one fragile, glowing with life, and the other ambitious, hungry, and unpredictable. Lyra noticed his tension. Your people, she said softly, do not yet understand you. They fear what they cannot control, but you must show them reason or their fear will lead to chaos. And by the choices you make when you are tested. A subtle disturbance in the energy of the planet, small vibrations that did not belong to the Sarathi or to natural shifts in the environment. His vision, enhanced by the Sarathi blood, detected heat signatures moving through the dense forest near the base. Lyra, he said urgently, there are humans approaching. They are not here to help. They want me, my power. The rogue humans, armed with rifles and scanning equipment, advanced blindly, unaware of the danger that awaited them. When Elias emerged from the trees, they were startled. He stood tall, his form glowing faintly with the Sarathi energy that still coursed through him. His presence alone caused their hearts to race, their hands to tighten around their weapons. Doctor. Vorn, one of them said, recognizing him. We've come for you. You have power that belongs to all of humanity. Step aside and you can come with us. That is impossible, but now you are ours to command or destroy, stand down, human, or face the consequences. Do not make me hurt you, he said calmly, though his voice carried an authority that made even the leader pause. But the humans did not retreat. They raised their weapons, aiming at him, shaking with adrenaline. Elias exhaled slowly. He did not want to kill them, but he needed to protect the Sarathi, the planet, and himself. The energy within him responded, flaring outward, creating a subtle barrier that forced the humans to stumble back. Lyra appeared beside him, her hands glowing faintly. She did not touch him, but the energy between them amplified his control. Elias, remember what I taught you? Balance, calm, precision. He extended his senses, sensing the humans' nervous pulses, their rapid heartbeats, their hesitation. He reached out not to harm but to control the flow around them. The humans froze, their weapons wavered, some stumbled, unable to move against the invisible force pressing against them. Elias did not strike. He guided them back toward the forest edge, using only the flow of energy to block and redirect them. "You are stronger than we imagined," their leader said finally, lowering his weapon slightly. "But this power, it is dangerous. It does not belong to you. You must leave." He had survived the first confrontation, but the true challenge was still ahead. Back at the Sarathi council chamber, Lyra and Elias discussed what had happened. "Your people," she said softly, "will not understand. They see only power, not responsibility. You must be careful. One mistake, and humans and Sarathi could be lost." "But I feel different now. The blood, the energy, it is part of me. And part of that means I can protect both our peoples. I just need to learn how to control it completely. If you falter, if you misuse this power, it could tear both our worlds apart." He trained in controlled bursts of power, testing the limits of his body and mind. Each exercise pushed him closer to mastery, yet he also felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavily upon him. One evening, as he rested near the glowing violet river that ran through the heart of Nyxora, Lyra joined him. "You are changing, Elias," she said, "not just in body, but in spirit. Humans often act without thinking, without understanding the consequences. But you are learning restraint, compassion, balance. That is rare. And I must show my people that humanity can be more than just greedy, reckless, or destructive." "I understand." He was a bridge, a protector, a symbol of what humans could become when courage, intelligence, and empathy were combined. And yet, as he drifted into a restless sleep, he knew the true test had not yet come. Rogue humans could return. The virus could evolve, and some Sarathi would never accept him. But Elias Vorn, human who had drunk the blood of another species and survived, would face it all. With courage, with restraint, and with the newfound strength flowing through him, he would meet whatever challenge came next. Humanity had survived against odds before, and now, on Nyxora, they would not just survive. They could change everything. The wind of Nyxora whispered across the violet plains, carrying the faint glow of distant mountains, the hum of life in every plant and creature, and the quiet promise of trials yet to come. Elias, standing tall and resolute, felt the power within him, the responsibility upon him, and the undeniable truth. The universe would never underestimate humanity again. The morning light of Nyxora spilled across the violet plains, illuminating the shimmering rivers and glowing flora. Elias stood at the edge of the Sarathi training grounds, feeling the pulse of energy running through the soil beneath him. He had come far since the day he drank the sacred blood, yet he knew he had far to go. The rogue humans had retreated, but the knowledge that they would return weighed heavily on him. They were not the only danger. The Sarathi themselves remained cautious, and some factions still whispered that he was an abomination. Lyra approached silently, her glowing form a reminder of both the power and fragility of her people. "Today," she said, "we train not just your body, but your mind. You must be able to act faster than any threat, control the energy within you completely, and protect without destroying. The humans, the virus, even some of my own people, anyone could test you." Elias felt the threads of power weaving around him, alive, pulsing with motion and thought. He reached out with his mind, connecting with the energy without touching it, feeling the balance shift with every small adjustment. "Good," Lyra said, her voice calm but commanding. "But now you must learn to use it actively. The energy is not just for sensing. It is for protecting, guiding, and even restraining those who would do harm." It was delicate work. One mistake could harm the land or the Sarathi themselves. As he practiced, the air shimmered. A small bird-like creature landed nearby, glowing faintly with the same energy that pulsed through Elias. He realized he could sense its life, its movements, even its tiny heartbeat. Carefully, he extended a hand, allowing the creature to rest there. It chirped, flitting its wings, then flew away unharmed. "You are learning quickly," Lyra said. "Your body responds to the energy as if it belongs to you. That is rare for a human, but remember, strength without control is dangerous. You must always be aware of your limits." Elias learned to move silently, to sense distant disturbances, to read the emotions of Sarathi and humans alike. He felt the rhythm of the planet itself, understanding how energy flowed from one point to another. Every lesson brought clarity, but also a sense of responsibility. The power he had gained was not a gift to wield carelessly. It was a bond, a connection to life itself. In the afternoon, Lyra led him to the edge of the forest. "There is something you must see," she said. "A faction of Sarathi does not trust you. They believe your blood is a threat, not a bridge. You must face them. This will test your ability to maintain control, even under direct challenge." "I am ready." "You are no longer human in the way we understand, and yet you are not Sarathi. What are you?" "I do not seek to replace your people, only to work with you, to be a bridge, not a threat." He extended the energy flowing through him, carefully guiding it into a protective sphere around himself and Lyra. The sphere pulsed gently, holding its shape without harming the ground or the trees. Then, sensing the emotions of the other Sarathi, he allowed the sphere to expand, creating a subtle barrier that pushed only negative intent away, leaving curiosity and calm untouched. The Sarathi watched, their light flickering as they processed what he had done. For the first time, some of them stepped forward, examining the sphere without fear. Elias adjusted the flow, responding to their movements, maintaining the balance. It was not force, it was harmony. Finally, the leader spoke again. "You have control, you have shown restraint. Perhaps you are not entirely an abomination. Perhaps there is hope in what you have become." They trained for human intrusion, for natural hazards, and for any sudden outbreaks of the virus. Elias' control over the energy was growing. He could now sense distant humans before they arrived, subtle tremors in the soil, even the quiet tension among Sarathi nearby. As night fell, the sky of Nyxora turned a deep violet, dotted with glowing clouds that reflected the planet's energy. Elias and Lyra sat on a hill overlooking the plains. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The balance of this world, the flow of life. But remember, there are always forces that will test you. Humans, your own people, the virus, even some Sarathi. You must be prepared for deception, for betrayal, for conflict. And you must always remember the bond between our species. That is your strength. I will prove that humans can be more than fear and destruction. We can be allies, not enemies. We must act quickly." Elias focused, using the energy to form protective barriers and subtle restraining currents. He did not strike to harm. Instead, he guided the humans back, blocking their advance while keeping them safe from injury. Lyra assisted, her energy weaving with his, creating a protective field that deflected attacks and kept the forest intact. The humans stumbled, confused and terrified. They had not expected resistance of this kind, not from a single human. Elias spoke calmly with authority. "You cannot take this power, you cannot control it. Leave now and you will not be harmed." The disturbance had passed, but the threat remained. Humans would come again, others would seek power, others would test him. Lyra stepped closer. "You have done well, but remember, this is only practice. The real tests will come when choices are harder, when consequences are greater, and when lives are truly at stake." He realized that his journey was far from over. He had survived the first challenges, earned the trust of some Sarathi, and demonstrated his restraint and control. But the universe was vast, full of unknown dangers, and humanity had its own ambitions that could either help or hinder the fragile balance he had become a part of. As the night deepened, Elias sat quietly, feeling the energy of Nyxora flowing through him. He could sense the forest breathing, the rivers pulsing, the distant mountains glowing faintly. He felt Lyra's presence nearby, steady and calm, a reminder that he was not alone. For the first time, he understood the true meaning of responsibility. Power was not for domination. It was for protection, for balance, for the survival of life itself. And he had been given more than any human before him. The wind carried faint whispers across the violet plains, hints of challenges yet to come, dangers waiting beyond the trees, and the quiet hum of life that would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But Elias Vorn, human who had survived the impossible, had learned restraint, courage, and purpose. He was ready. For Nyxora, for the Sarathi, and for humanity, he would face the next trials. He would protect. He would guide. And he would show that humanity, when tempered by wisdom and compassion, could shine brighter than any alien world. The universe was watching, and Elias, glowing with the bond of blood and energy, stood prepared to meet it head-on. Elias woke to the soft hum of Nyxora's morning light brushing against his visor. The violet plains stretched endlessly, glowing faintly beneath the planet's energy. But he did not feel calm. A disturbance had passed through the land overnight, subtle but insistent. The rogue humans had returned. This time they were not alone. Some had brought devices designed to manipulate energy to capture what Elias had learned to control. Others carried experimental virus samples, the same pathogen that had almost killed him. Lyra approached silently, her glow steady but tense. They have come again. They are better prepared, more organized. They do not understand restraint. They only understand force. He could sense fear and determination in equal measure. He could feel the energy of the forest responding to his presence, bending subtly to shield him and Lyra, creating pathways that allowed them to move undetected. The humans emerged from the trees, rifles and devices raised. "Dr. Vorn," their leader shouted, "step aside. This power belongs to humanity, and you will submit. You cannot control it. Leave now and you will not be harmed." Elias felt it strike the barrier, distorting the field, and he realized that this attack was not physical. It was designed to interfere with his connection to the Sarathi energy. He took a deep breath and centered himself, feeling the flow of energy within him stabilize. The pulse rippled through his senses, but he absorbed it, redirecting it into the ground rather than letting it harm him or Lyra. The humans staggered, confused by the failure of their device. Elias extended his barrier further, creating a gentle push that forced them back without causing injury. Lyra joined him, weaving her energy with his. Together, they created a field of harmony that reflected not only power but purpose. The humans tried to advance, but every step met resistance. They shouted, waved weapons, and activated more devices, but Elias' focus never wavered. He could sense the fear growing among them, the cracks forming in their confidence. "Elias, be careful," Lyra warned. "Do not let anger or fear guide you. You must act with clarity, not with force." He guided it gently, nudging them back toward the forest edge, away from the Sarathi training ground. Slowly, steadily, the humans began to retreat, realizing that force alone could not overcome this bond of human and Sarathi energy. As they withdrew, the leader shouted one last warning. "This is not over, human. We will return." "Then we will be ready," he said quietly. The threat of humans had passed for now, but the virus remained. Despite his enhanced body and connection to the Sarathi energy, Elias could sense its subtle movements across the forest floor. Small pulses of infection were hidden in plants and soil, mutating rapidly. If left unchecked, it could spread through the Sarathi population, devastating them in days. "We cannot fight it with force," Elias said, turning to Lyra. "We need to work with the energy, with the bond, to neutralize it. You will have to lead it, focus it, and remain connected to the flow without letting it overwhelm you." He reached out with his bond, guiding the flow of energy from his own body into the surrounding environment. Slowly, carefully, he infused the soil, the plants, and the air with the stabilizing pulse of Sarathi energy. The virus resisted. Pulses of chaotic energy flared, striking him and making his head spin. But Elias remained calm. He focused, letting the flow move through him like a river, steady and strong. Lyra's energy joined his, stabilizing the disturbance, creating a rhythm that countered the virus without harming life. Hours passed. The sun of Nyxora moved slowly across the sky, casting long shadows over the glowing plains. Elias' energy began to harmonize with the planet itself, reaching deep into the soil, tracing the roots of trees, the flow of rivers, the network of life that pulsed beneath the surface. The virus trembled, resisted, and finally weakened, dissolving into harmless energy that nourished the planet rather than consuming it. Elias opened his eyes, exhausted but triumphant. Lyra smiled beside him, her glow warm and steady. "You have done it," she said softly. "You have saved your people and ours. You have shown that humans are capable of wisdom, courage, and compassion, qualities that even the strongest power cannot replace. That responsibility, empathy, and restraint are just as important. Perhaps there is hope for your species yet. Humans often break rules, but you have used your strength to protect, not dominate. That is rare even among Sarathi. You have given hope." He had been tested in every way, physically, mentally, and morally, and he had emerged not just alive, but stronger in spirit. Over the following weeks, Elias and Lyra worked to strengthen the bond between humans and Sarathi. Humans remaining on Nyxora began to see Elias not as a weapon, but as a guide. They learned from him, learning the subtle ways of Sarathi energy, the principles of balance, restraint, and respect for life. Rogue factions, discouraged by their failure, retreated to the shadows, realizing that brute force could not overcome the combined wisdom of human and Sarathi cooperation. Elias also trained the Sarathi who had doubted him, showing them that humans could act with compassion and courage. Slowly, trust began to build. Mutual respect grew. The humans saw the beauty and fragility of Nyxora, and the Sarathi saw the potential of humanity when guided by wisdom rather than greed. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the violet plains, Elias stood with Lyra on a hill overlooking the glowing forests. "We have come far," she said softly. "But the universe is wide. There will be more threats, more challenges, more unknowns. Are you ready to continue? We will leave a mark, not of destruction, but of hope." He was a bridge, a protector, a symbol of what humanity could achieve. He had drunk the sacred blood, faced unimaginable danger, and survived. And in doing so, he had shown that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons, in conquest, or in greed, but in courage, empathy, and the willingness to protect life, even when it meant risking everything. The wind whispered across the plains, carrying a promise of new challenges, new discoveries, and new opportunities. Elias felt it in his bones, in the pulse of the energy around him, and in the steady glow of Lyra beside him. Humanity had arrived among the stars, not as conquerors, but as allies, as protectors, as a species capable of greatness in the truest sense. And Elias, human who had drunk Sarathi blood and survived, would lead the way. The universe had taken notice.